Welcome to the Bold and Determined Podcast with your man Victor Pride. And right here on the Podcast for Winners, we're bringing you motivation and mindset for the killers and real dealers, the makers and the takers, the winners and the grinners, and goddamn, even the sinners too. Let's get started. Hello, friendly friends. Welcome to the Bold and Determined Podcast with your man Victor Pride. I'm coming at you every Thursday, and ooh boy, what a week this has been. Let's talk about Alex Jones. Alex Jones is a popular right-wing, conservative, conspiracy theory radio video host who has angered some of the powers that be. And Alex Jones has been banned from several different outlets such as Twitter, Facebook, iTunes, and YouTube. And that's a big hit, especially iTunes and YouTube. That's going to be a very big hit. And this is one reason why it is so very important for people who tell the truth to own their own property. Alex Jones still has his website, Infowars.com. Then he can still spread his message. So it is very, very important. These young people who think they're just going to get on social media and that's going to be their ticket to the top, where you can always be kicked off of social media. You can always be kicked off of any platform you do not own. It is of the utmost importance you have your own website. And we can take care of that for you at badnet.com. We can set up a website for you and get you set up that way. But it is very important that you do that if you want your voice to be heard. You must make it heard first and foremost on your own platform, and then you can spread out to YouTube and iTunes and Twitter and Facebook and all these other lower platforms. Because, again, Alex Jones was just banned from all of them. What was he banned for? Well, that's a great question. None of them gave a reason why he was banned. Now, we can all guess why he was banned. He was saying something they didn't like, and they banned him. All these big companies got together and they banned him on basically the same day. Can you imagine that? iTunes and Facebook and YouTube all got together to ban a person. To ban a person who was talking. A person who was not inciting violence, who was not calling for genocide, he was not calling for rape. He was talking and Alex Jones talks about the deep state and the Illuminati and these kind of things. And you think these things are silly at first until you realize that the people who talk about it get banned on the same day from the biggest companies in the world. So there must be something that Alex Jones is saying that is true. Now, is everything he's saying true? I don't necessarily think so. I think he is mostly telling the truth. I think that he goes over the top to make his point get across. But in this world, you have to be over the top to get your voice heard. If you are not over the top, nobody will care. If you have a based opinion where you take both accounts into consideration and then you go on the radio and say, well, look at it this side, look at it that side, and blah, 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 nobody's going to listen. If you want listeners, you have to have a strong opinion and never apologize for it. And that's what Alex Jones has. Whether or not he is so strong in his private life on the radio, you must be strong to get your voice heard. If you are not willing to go over the top, you will never get far enough. And that's what Alex Jones does. Do I agree with everything he says? I agree with a lot of the things he says. I listen to him and I think, yeah, that's true. It's over the top. But then again, Facebook, YouTube, and iTunes just banned him. Is that not over the top? On the same day they got together, behind the scenes, they planned it, they banned him. If that's not a conspiracy, I don't know what is. A conspiracy only means people get together and they plan things. Considering he was banned on the same day from the largest platforms in the world, I would say that him being a conspiracy theorist is probably accurate. Speaking of being banned and having the need for your own website, Roosh V, was banned from Amazon. Roosh V released a book called Game this week. He was selling very well. He was in the top 1,000 units on Amazon. And wouldn't you know it, when he's doing well, they banned 8 of his books from Amazon. In the middle of his new launch, they banned his book. His book called Game, a book about how to meet girls. So what do you think he was talking about that got him banned? He was talking about raping girls, mutilating girls, kidnapping girls? Nope. He was talking about how to meet girls. They banned him for that. Actually, they banned him for his opinions that don't match the narrative that they would like. So if you have an opinion that does not match, you are alone in this world. You can never rely on Amazon. You can never rely on YouTube, iTunes. You must rely on your own website. Roosh still has a website where you can buy his book, rooshv.com. I recommend you go and buy it just to show moral support for a fellow truth warrior. Hoo-wee, what a week. This is one reason why I've never liked releasing my books on Amazon. I released New World Ronin on Amazon. It was a big mistake. I lost a lot of money and I gave a lot of business to Amazon. That won't happen again. Any new book I release, I guarantee you will not be released on Amazon. Now, we were talking about releasing a new supplement line on Amazon. This week has made me reevaluate that, and we are not going to release those supplements on Amazon. We're going to release the new estrogen control and the new testosterone booster directly on redsupplements.com. Now, I did get a question about will those be available to be shipped in Australia, and the answer we're getting right now is that yes, they will be available in Australia. So you can look forward to Red PCT 2.0 and as of yet unnamed testosterone booster from Red Supplements. I will keep you informed about that. They will not be available on Amazon. They will be available on our own website, period. All right, so what do you say we get into some questions from the readers? JP asks, what are your thoughts on socialism, and what would you do if ever socialism totally replaced capitalism in the USA? Well, to answer the second part first, I would simply leave the United States and I wouldn't come back. That's it. If socialism took over in the United States, I would leave and I would not come back. Because there would be nothing here. If socialism took over, there would be nothing here. In socialism, everybody is shit and everything is shit. Ask any Russian who lived during the communist era. Ask anybody in Cuba. Ask anybody in Venezuela. Ask anybody who lived through the Great Leap Forward in China. Socialism, communism, it turns all people into shit. It's the same thing. I told you about the Illuminati last week. The Illuminati, socialism, communism, all this stuff is exactly the same thing. And George Carlin said it best when he said, they want everything for themselves and nothing for you. See, socialism, you think it's this cool, hip thing where everybody's equal and everybody's got equal rights, man. In reality, it's a tool of complete control. Those few at the top have complete control over you. In socialism, they take all your money from you and they give you shit in return. You think it's free stuff. You think you get a free house and free electricity and free food, when really they take everything from you and give you a little bit in return. Socialism, communism, all this stuff is the same as being inside of a cult. When you go into a cult, you have one leader at the top, one crazy leader, one insane leader at the top. You have below that man, you have some useful idiots who put his plans into place, and then everybody at the bottom who simply gives their money away and they work for free for the cult leader. In a cult, you must work and you don't get paid. They have to keep you busy enough so that you never think about what's happening. All right. So in socialism, in communism, in a cult, you have one dictator, one insane dictator who doesn't actually believe these things, or maybe does, but is very, very insane, who has no emotions about it, who is, you could call narcissist, selfish, all these kind of psychology things that you hear people talking about. That's what these people are. Remorseless, emotionless, insane. These people are at the top. Below them, you have their useful idiots. The idiot morons who believe in the philosophy of socialism or communism, who ruin it for everybody else. Now, they call their opposition racist and sexist and homophobe and this and that and blah, 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 blah. And all these names that they call you say, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not. I swear I'm not. And this is how they get you. You get sucked into their world when you answer to these names. You're racist. I'm not a racist. I swear I'm not. Why are you so scared of a word? Your being frightened of a word is going to cost you everything. Your being frightened of being called a sexist or a racist is going to cost you everything. When you are frightened of these words, you comply with them. You enter their world. You leave your world and you enter their world. They'll call you a Nazi and you'll say, "Oh, I'm not a Nazi. I swear." Listen, there are no Nazis in this world. There are no racists in this world. They don't exist. They don't exist. They call you names that don't exist. They've made up a boogeyman that doesn't exist. And you say, "But I'm not. Of course you're not. You know why? Because it doesn't fucking exist. They have made it up. And you eat it right up. You eat it right up. There are no racists in this world. There are no Nazis in this world. They don't exist. They do not exist. Do you know why you're not one? Because they don't exist. I'll tell you something else. Religion has done the same thing with the invention of a creature called Satan. Satan does not exist. Since Satan does not exist, there is always this enemy for you to be afraid of. Always this enemy. Always this fear in your mind. Always this worry in your mind of, ooh, Satan. There is no Satan. It's made up. These cults have to have opposition, but they don't want real opposition. They must create the opposition and control the opposition. If the opposition is not real, it can never be defeated. So God and Satan are always going to be enemies because Satan isn't real. He can never be defeated because he isn't real. You can always be afraid of Satan because it isn't real. You can always be afraid of being called a racist because it isn't real. You can always be afraid of not being politically correct because it isn't real. See, political correctness is nothing but forced political indoctrination. It's not giving equality to your fellow man. It's not giving brotherly love to your fellow man. It's not giving social justice to the world. It's forced political indoctrination. They bring you into their world just as a cult brings you into the world of the cult. What is the solution? Don't play their games. Don't have anything to do with it. They call you a racist, say, eh. They call you a sexist, say, eh. They call you a homophobe, say, eh. Just don't care. If you don't care what they say, they can't hurt you. You give your permission to these vampires to come inside and live in your head rent-free. And you say, I'm not a racist. You let the vampire come in and live in your head rent-free. So when they say racist, say, okay, whatever. Sure. Yeah, I'm a racist. I'm a Nazi. I'm a sexist. I'm a homophobe. I'm a trannyphobe. Sure. What else you got? You know what they'll have? Nothing. You must resist. You must not enter their world. In their world, it's a bad place to be. In their world, there is no scientific advancement, no intellectual advancement, no technological advancement. There is stagnation and corruption and ignorance and stupidity and ineptness. That's all there is. There are two kinds of people who believe in socialism, and those people are psychopaths and useful idiots. So when you look at these programs, you think, I don't know if these people are just incredibly stupid or if they're just incredibly evil. Well, the answer is both. The psychopath disseminates it, and the useful idiots believe it and further disseminate it. Socialism, communism, all these isms, they're all the same thing. They're all exactly the same thing. You get in the world of a psychopath. Go ask people who lived in Russia during communism, who lived in the Soviet Union during communism, what it was like. They say, well, it was like living in the mind of a psychopath or an idiot. I'm not sure. So that's that. Let's move on. Next question is, what are your mindsets that helped you when you were starting your business? How did you deal with your fear of failing? How did you push through the hard times? And who are your role models in starting and running a business? You know, once I made the decision that I was not going to work anymore, I had no fear at all. Once I decided I'm just going to quit, if I have to live on the street, then I'll just live on the street. Once I decided to do that, I had no fear of failing whatsoever. In fact, I knew from day one that Bold and Determined was going to be a success. I didn't know how, I just knew it was. I simply knew I was going to do everything in my power to make it a success, and I wouldn't quit until it was. And that's what happened. If you just don't quit and you just push forward, eventually you're going to get it. What did they say about success? 90% of success is just showing up. If you just do the work and continue doing the work, you will get there. Because most people will stop doing the work when the times get tough. They'll stop doing the work, they'll quit it, they'll forget it, they'll go back to working a job and they'll say, yeah, it was a tough racket trying to make it on my own. Well, it's actually not tough making it on your own. It's actually easier than working a job. So many people ask me, how did you get through the hard times when you first started? I just have to look at them with a bit of sympathy. When I first started, those times were the best times of my life. And everybody who started a business will tell you the same thing. Those, quote, hard times were the best times of their life. When you read a biography of somebody successful, you don't want to read about 10 years after they made their money. You want to read about those times they were struggling. Those are the fun times. Those are not the hard times. Everything people think about success is the opposite of what success is. They think it's so hard and you got to get through these hard times, when in reality, those are the best times of your life. And you're missing it if you don't do it. Starting out, having nothing, building something, taking your thoughts and making those into a reality, using nothing but your willpower to create something that did not exist before. This is the best time of your life. This is the time when you feel like God. So how do you get through the hard times? I don't know. You tell me. How do you get through your job? Day in and day out, creating nothing, being a slave, and not making any money to show for it. How do you get through the hard times? Next question. How did you get started in bodybuilding? Did you go for a gym membership right away, or did you start with bodybuilding exercises? And what kept you through? I started in bodybuilding because at the time I had a girlfriend who loved to go to the gym. And I just agreed to go to the gym with her one day. I was not big into fitness. I was not big into bodybuilding. I didn't care. One bit, I didn't care. And I went with her and I loved it. I loved it from day one. And that's it. I just had an instant love for it. And I really started liking it when I would get stronger and I would gain weight. I was gaining weight by the week. I was getting stronger by the week. So I went from, when I first started that first year, I went from 130 pounds to 170 pounds. And that's what got me through. Results. I loved it. I loved going to the gym. I loved training. To this day, I still love training. Nothing makes me feel better than a good hard training session. And it's not about looking perfect. It's not about having six-pack abs all the time. It's not about being the coolest guy at the bar. It's about physical exercise, and physical exertion makes you feel good. You get a sense of accomplishment. You work out stress. You just feel good doing it. And that's what got me through, because I felt good. Again, these people quit the gym and you feel so much better when you hit the gym. When you don't hit the gym, you feel so much worse about yourself. So it's not a hard thing to do. It's an easy thing to do because it makes you feel good. Samuel asks, do you consume any kind of media? If yes, what kind? And if not, why? Well, there's so much available that it gives you analysis by paralysis. And I don't watch television. I don't listen to the radio. I don't really listen to music too much. Unfortunately, most blogs have disappeared. All the good blogs I used to read, it seems like half of them just went away. They just quit. I've been listening to podcasts, but the reason I do Bold and Determined and the reason I do this podcast is because the kind of stuff I want to read or listen to is not out there. So I create it. Jack asks, Victor, what podcast do you recommend? I recommend you listen to the Bold and Determined podcast. Other than that, I don't recommend anything. However, I will tell you that I've been listening to a podcast called The Last Podcast on the Left, and I found these guys when I took a road trip out to the mountains in New Mexico. I was looking for some good long podcasts it was about a 9-hour drive out there. And it's these 3 comedians in New York. They do true crime stuff, so they'll do very research heavy episodes on like serial killers and cult leaders and that kind of thing. It's just these 3 guys, and I hear them talking. They said for the first 4 years, they made nothing. They did the show for free, and they finally got some traction. They finally got some listeners and advertisers. They set up a Patreon account, and Patreon is where the listeners of the show can donate to them monthly. And I took a look at their Patreon page, and after 4 years of making nothing, what do you think they're making per month? $100? $200? $1,000? They're making $47,448 per month from their podcast, just from Patreon alone. That doesn't include their advertising fees. So they're making a real good living from talking into microphones in their living room. And that's last podcast on the left. I've been listening to their 5-part series on the Jim Jones cult. And Jim Jones was an interesting guy. People think of the Jim Jones cult as a Christian cult, and all these Christians went out to the forest in Guyana, and they drank the Kool-Aid, and they all died, and yada, yada, yada. Actually, they were not really a Christian cult. Jim Jones recruited them by talking about equality and social justice and socialism. He recruited all these downtrodden people and promised them paradise and socialism. Of course, they had to give up the deeds to their house. They had to give up most of their paycheck to him. And he would take care of everything else, with their money, of course. And that would be their socialist paradise. Now, what happened was they started off in Indiana, and they moved to San Francisco with all the other freaks in San Francisco. But Jim Jones was not that successful, and he decided to move their cult down to Guyana, which is in South America. And they went down there to build a socialist paradise away from the capitalist system in Guyana. And so where everybody could be equal and this and that. And what was going on down there was crazy. They would beat members for talking too much. If a lady was scared of a snake, they would wrap a huge boa constrictor around her. And they would all stand around and laugh at her, and she would scream and cry. If they did something that Jim Jones didn't like, they would lock them in a box in the ground, in the hot jungle. So there were a lot of crazy things that were happening under the guise of socialism, which is always what happens. Socialism is never what it appears to be. It's always about taking your resources, taking everything from you, taking your energy for you, and making you live inside the mind of the one dictator, in this case, Jim Jones. And at the end of it, Jim Jones killed all of them. 900 of them, killed them all. So when you believe in socialism, when you put all your faith in socialism and communism, you can expect to be killed for it. Anash asks, what kind of music appeals to you and why? Actually, I haven't been listening to any music. I stopped listening to music for several months, and then I turned on some music again, and instantly I realized that all music is written by 18-year-olds, and it's harder to relate later in life to the music of an 18-year-old. So I don't listen to too much music. I still listen to the same things. I've been listening to for the past 20 years, but in moderation. When I do listen to music in the car, I usually listen to classical music, music with no words whatsoever. Classical music is really the most intense form of music because you can have an entire emotional experience listening to classical music. You can feel happy, you can feel afraid, you can feel sad, you can feel ecstatic. That's why they use classical music in the scores of movies to make you cry or to make you happy. It's really a superior form of music. Music today, there's something off about it. There's something off about it. It doesn't make you feel good. I like to feel good. I don't like to feel bad, so I don't listen to stuff that makes me feel bad. Octavio asks, if you have a product that sells well but isn't necessarily healthy or productive in your perspective for the customers, do you do it anyway? For example, I think you mentioned somewhere that coffee wasn't good for you, but from what I gathered, you used to sell coffee as red coffee, though I'm not sure about that. In this case, would you continue to sell coffee? What's your approach in these cases? Well, we do still sell red coffee. It is the Best tasting coffee in the world. Now, regarding coffee, yes, it is bad for you. On the other hand, you need it to do your best work. That's what I have found. Coffee really pushes you forward. There would be no Bold and Determined without coffee. Now, I've personally been off coffee for about a year. In the past year, I've probably had 5 coffees. And I can say conclusively, coffee is not good for you. And I can also say, coffee helps you tremendously to do your work. 2 things can be true at the same time. Coffee is not good for you, and you need coffee. I find that if I just do coffee once a month, coffee is one of the strongest things you can take. Now, doing it every day is way too much. It's too much in my opinion. It's too much. But if you do it once a month, once every couple months, even once a week, you get really tremendous work benefits from it. So let's say that's not true. Let's say I just hated coffee and didn't think it was good for people. Well, what I think is really kind of irrelevant, because if people are wanting it and wanting to buy it and you have it for sale, then just let them buy it, because if they don't buy it from you, they're going to buy it from somebody else. But that's coffee. That's an everyday thing. There could be something else that is causing sickness or causing illness. In that case, you have to stop selling it. If something is actually truly hurting people, you have to stop selling it. But something like coffee, just because you don't like it doesn't mean other people don't like it. In that case, I would keep selling it. And we still do have red coffee, which is, to this day, the best tasting coffee I've ever had in my life. In fact, before this podcast today, I got me a couple sips of coffee. And it worked, boy. I tell you that, it worked. PJ asks, when will you launch a paid membership content? When will you launch a Make a Mark and Make Money course with videos? That's a great idea, PJ. I believe I will launch that in the future. I'm not going to launch it this year, but that has been on my mind for quite a while. I would love to release a Make Money video course for you, but these things take time to perfect. So in the future, that will happen. He goes on to ask, when will you destroy YouTube with videos? We need a real hero there. That place is full of shit selling shit to people. And then Colton also asks, do you have any intentions of becoming a vlogger of some sort? I have started daily vlogging since I stopped blogging, as I'm much better at taking advantage of videos rather than written posts. Vlogging is huge right now and has been for a while. Yeah, you are correct. Vlogging is absolutely gigantic. It's bigger than blogging. It's bigger than podcasting. Vlogging is huge. Some of the most famous people in the world, like Logan Paul or PewDiePie, got famous from vlogging. Vlogging will get you a bigger audience than being on television. Vlogging on YouTube is bigger than being on TV. However, there's a price for that fame that I don't want to deal with. If you want it, great. I always say there is a holy trinity of online business. That trinity is blogging, vlogging, and podcasting. Vlogging is a video log of your life. The holy trinity is blogging, vlogging, and podcasting. You can pick any one of those 3, and if you have a personality, you can turn it into money. Vlogging is great. I don't want to do it. And that's just as simple as that. Last time I was on YouTube, I did 36 episodes of the Full Color Godcast in a month, and I started getting recognized everywhere I went. And I could see the writing on the wall. It's going to kill your privacy. If you're cool with no privacy, vlogging is a great way to make money and make your mark in the world. I don't personally want to do it, and that's that. Steven asks, what do you like most about Donald Trump? What lesson can we learn from him? Well, Donald Trump is energy personified. Energy personified. I read Donald Trump's book, The Art of the Deal, back when I was getting into real estate, and I swear that book gave me energy to do my work for a year. He is energy personified and motivating. He's also a brand and marketing guru. So there's much you can learn about business from Donald Trump. Now, as president, I haven't paid attention. I don't watch what's going on in the news. I don't watch Donald Trump's Twitter. I don't watch these things. And there's a reason for that. I want to remain an impartial observer, and I want to go back and look over these things that he's done after he's done them. And then I can judge, was he a good president? Was he a not good president? Was he true? Was he false? You see, most politicians are false. One of the keys of being a great politician is that your word should never match your deed. Use your word to get the votes from the peons. Then use your deed to appease the masters. That is a rule of politics. Your word should never match your deed. The people on the bottom are perfectly happy with your promises of hope. They don't care that you never actually follow through. They just want your word. The people at the top want your deed and don't care about your word. So that's the way you get into politics and you excel at politics. The word should never match the deed. Now, Donald Trump is completely different than every politician we've ever seen. We can all agree on that. But only time will tell if his word is true or if he's just another in the line of the politician. We shall see. Santa Claus asks, what do you think about the longevity diet? Well, I took a look at the book cover and it had vegetables on the cover, so the diet is shit. He asks, what happened with New World Ronin? We sold out. Silo asks, what are your thoughts on prenatal supplements and do you think they are required? I've not looked into prenatal supplements, but I'm wary of all supplements in general. If you want to build muscle in this world, you have to take something, but you have to maximize your gains before you take anything. But there's going to be a point where your gains stop naturally, and you have to use something to build muscle. You just have to. What are your thoughts on prenatal supplements? I don't like it. Let's say Mrs. Pride was pregnant. I wouldn't want her taking any prenatal supplements. I'd be feeding her grass-fed beef. All your vitamins that you need, all your digestive enzymes, your fatty acids, everything you need is in grass-fed beef. If you're eating the food that has everything you need, you don't need these other supplements when you don't actually know what these supplements do. It's a guessing game what these supplements do. When you take supplements to build muscle and you build muscle, you can see what they do. You can see them working. But a lot of supplements in the world don't do what they claim to do. They don't make you healthier. On the surface, they do this for you and they do that for you. But in the darkness, below that, they could be causing all kinds of sickness and a slow death and liver failure, kidney failure, heart disease. They could be causing all kinds of things we don't know about. If you're pregnant, stick with food as your basic would be my advice. If you want to build muscle, build yourself up naturally as best you can and then hop on Red Growth. Speaking of Red Growth, the B&D podcast is brought to you by Red Growth. If you're looking to gain some muscle, Red Growth is the way to do it. Red Growth is the #1 legal muscle building supplement that actually works. Red Growth is designed to help you gain massive amounts of muscle and strength in the shortest amount of time possible. Now, your results may vary, but it would not be unheard of for you to gain anywhere from 5 to 10 pounds of muscle on a single 4-week cycle of Red Growth. Red Growth is legal. All of the ingredients in Red Growth are 100% legal. They work together synergistically to give you almost steroid-like gains. And you don't have to take steroids and you don't have to take longer than a 4-week cycle. All listeners of the B&D podcast can get 10% off of their next order of Red Growth. Here's what you do. Go to redsupplements.com, add a bottle of Red Growth to your cart, and enter the code BADGROWTH at checkout and you will get 10% off your order. That's Bad Growth, BADGROWTH, Bad Growth. To get your Red Growth, go to redsupplements.com, add a bottle of Red Growth to your cart. During checkout, use the code BADGROWTH and you're going to get 10% off of your order. Boom. That's how you build some muscle, my friends. Josh asks, are you working on any future books? At the time, no, I'm not working on any future books. At this exact time, I am loving doing the podcast for you. I'm enjoying the podcast very much, and I'm going to start putting a good chunk of my energy into the podcast. Personally, I hate writing. I've never enjoyed writing, especially writing books, but I am starting to enjoy the podcast more and more, and I'm very happy with the way the podcast is going, so I'm not working on any books at the moment. In my head, I'm always working on books, and I'm always working on writing stuff, because I prefer reading over listening. I prefer writing greatness over speaking. The process of doing it, I just don't really enjoy too much. He goes on to ask, are you still on testosterone replacement therapy or have you gone the way of the natural? He says, for myself, I have finally left using synthetic testosterone and fully embraced natural bodybuilding and natural supplements. I lost about 8 pounds, but amazingly kept my strength with smart supplementation, recovery, and programming my workouts. No lifts went down. And then we've got a couple more questions on TRT here. Zechariah asks, the greatest investment I'll ever make in building my brand is getting my testosterone above 230. I'm doing all the recommended stuff. Will your new product be available for us Ronin in Australia? Yes, it will, Zach. He says, also, what does a guy at my age do about getting a testosterone shot or going on TRT? I know it will make a night and day difference, but if a doctor will prescribe it is another story. Alex P asks, did your opinion on TRT change? Are you still on it? What are the benefits and disadvantages? Okay, testosterone replacement therapy is a shot of testosterone once a week that says it's going to increase your testosterone. I have been off of all testosterone for the past year and a half. I've been off everything for the past year and a half. I've taken no testosterone, no supplements, no nothing. I have been wanting to see what I can do with my body with just food. And that's all I've been taking is just food. So I've been off completely for a year and a half. Now, you do have a couple problems getting on testosterone. One is that when you take testosterone, testosterone converts into estrogen. So you take testosterone to increase your testosterone, but your estrogen also increases. So right away, you have to use another supplement to take care of your estrogen. And this can be very hard to figure out the sweet spot when you are manually manipulating your hormones this way. So a lot of times you get bloated from taking testosterone. You get moody. You can get what they call roid rage from taking testosterone because it increases your hormones, and it can take a while to figure these things out. Now, actually using testosterone, ironically, it really never raised my testosterone levels that much. There are other things I took that raised my testosterone levels way higher than actual testosterone did. So in my opinion, testosterone, it can be good for the right person who needs it. If your testosterone is 230, that's low. You have to do something about that. I would recommend, before trying to get TRT in Australia, which is a lost cause, I would recommend taking the new Red Supplements Testosterone Booster, which I'll give you the name of in future episodes. I would recommend taking that first and seeing what happens. But testosterone rates are falling worldwide. Sperm counts are down 60%. 60% from what they were like 40, 50 years ago. There is something in our environment that is killing our testosterone. So even if we try to live as naturally as possible, we're still going to be lower than we should be. And that's just a fact we have to come to grips with, since we are lower than we should be. And if we're doing everything in our power naturally to increase our testosterone, what choice are we left with other than to take something that will increase our testosterone? So I am pro increasing your testosterone by any means necessary, but doing it in the best way. And actually taking testosterone, I have found, may not be the best way, because you don't really, sometimes you feel good on testosterone, sometimes you don't. It can make you foggy headed. It can make you even lethargic. It can make you grumpy. It can make you emotional. It can make your nipples sore. It can do all these kind of things that you don't really want. If you want testosterone, you got to worry about killing the estrogen. Our new products are at Red Supplements is going to be a testosterone booster and an estrogen reducer. And you'll be able to take those both at the same time to increase the testosterone and then kill the excess estrogen that's being caused by the testosterone. So when those come out, you'll get a 10% discount on those as well. Other than that, I don't really recommend TRT unless you've exhausted the diet and the natural supplements approach. If you've done that and nothing is working, if you tried everything, nothing is working, then take testosterone and see what happens. But there can be one issue with taking testosterone, and that is you may have to be on it for life. If you're on it for 5 or 6 years and then you get off of it, your testosterone might be lower than when you started. In that case, you might be stuck with it. So think before you act and try everything in your power to be natural as you can be. But if being natural means your testosterone levels are stuck at 200, take the jump. In my opinion, do it legally. Brad asks, in dealing with the Illuminati, you say you must be emotionless because they are emotionless psychopaths. How do you train to be emotionless in your life in dealing with the Illuminati and making business decisions? Well, the Illuminati, let's just call them the adversary. And there's always going to be an adversary in your life. And if you allow the adversary to make you emotional, you will lose. The emotional person is going to lose 100% of the time because they're going to make bad decisions. They're not going to make good decisions because they're going to be thinking about things emotionally. You have to detach yourself and look at the situation as a whole. Look at the positives. Look at the negatives. Look at everything like you are an attorney working for a client. Take yourself out of the picture and just pretend you're an attorney looking over the situation for a client. Then you can find the best decision that way. You never want to make any decision emotionally, especially some decision like getting married. You never want to do anything like that emotionally. You want to be cold, emotionless, and look at it like a scientist, or look at it like a lawyer, and figure out what's good, what's bad, what's in between, what's the worst that could happen, what's the best that can happen, and then act on it that way. You never want to worry. The problem with things like worrying about the Illuminati is that worry will kill you. Worry will turn you into a wreck, an emotional wreck, a physical wreck, a nervous wreck. Worry is something you don't want. You want to, don't worry, be happy. The problem with listening to people like Alex Jones in the first place is they get you to worry about the future and worry about what's happening and worry about all this stuff. If you're worried, you're going to make the bad decision. You have to not be worried. Manly P. Hall said there is nothing to fear and everything to hope for. And that is true. But if you worry, the worst thing that can happen will happen. You will go nowhere. You will do nothing. You will be stuck as a bundle of nervous energy. You don't want to be that. You want to get rid of worry. And to get rid of worry, just look at the situation. Ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? Okay, if that's the worst that can happen, then prepare to deal with that. Say, that's the worst that can happen. I'm prepared to deal with it. Let's move forward. I would also recommend you read the book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. In fact, I want to read a quote from you from this great book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. When we are worried, our emotions are riding high. But here are two ideas that I have found helpful when trying to step aside from my problems in order to see the facts from a clear, objective manner. Number one, when trying to get the facts, I pretend that I am collecting this information not for myself, but for some other person. This helps me to take a cold, impartial view of the evidence. This helps me eliminate my emotions. Number two, while trying to collect the facts about the problem that is worrying me, I sometimes pretend that I am a lawyer preparing to argue the other side of the issue. In other words, I try to get all of the facts against myself, all of the facts that are damaging to my wishes, all of the facts that I don't like to face. Then I write down both my side of the case and the other side of the case. And I generally find that the truth lies somewhere in between these two extremities. That is from the terrific book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. I have linked it on the Bold and Determined article for this podcast, which is entitled Episode Number 3. Levi asks, I am a bio-research student who is leaving the U.S. within a year or so. I owe little to no debt, thank God. I know the USA is a great place to start a business, but I find the internet better. Should I stick with what I love, albeit still in slavery, to escape the Western collapse? I have means to leave the U.S. for overseas research. I want to do online business and business in my field. Well, then go ahead and do it, Levi. There's no reason to stay here if that's not what you want to do. Now, people say that the U.S. is a great place to do business, and that might have been true in the past, but I am not finding that to be the truth today. It's very difficult to do business here. You have so much red tape you have to get through. Starting an internet business is so much better because it gives you the freedom to do it from anywhere in the world. If you want to be in South Korea, U.S., Nigeria, doesn't matter. You can do your business online, and while you may still have to deal with some red tape, you don't have to deal with as much. I would never, ever want to open up a store in the United States. I would never want to deal with that, ever. Never. It used to be a great place to do business. That is declining. As with everything in Western civilization, all the stuff that used to be good is changing. Everything is inverted now. What's good is bad. What's bad is good. So if you want to be terrible at business, it's a great place to do business. But if you want to be good here, I would go somewhere else. The values are inverted. Everything is upside down. And that's what's happening in the United States right now. Complete inversion of values. Andrew asks, my question is, how do you restart your life if you are 19? Well, you don't need to restart it, Andrew. All you need to do is start it. What you've never been up until this point is in control. At 19, you have never been in control of your life. So you don't need to restart anything. You just need to start by taking control and taking responsibility for your own life. As a child, you have no responsibility and you have no control. At 19, you are a man. You are an adult. The way you start your life is by taking control of your life. Do not give anybody else control over your life. Take responsibility for your life. Live your life. Don't do what they say. Do what you know is right. Sebastian asks, what do you think really happened on 9/11? We can all agree that the official story is bunk. That's that. Nico asks, my problem is that I have a very sensitive stomach. It's very hard for me to eat meat. Even eggs done in a pan are too aggressive for me. Most time I eat soup and drink teas. I live nearly vegetarian. I force myself to eat meat at least 2 times a week, but it feels like eating rocks. The doctors say I'm in perfect health condition after several checks, but I feel like I'm dying. I'm now 27 years old. When I was young, before going to university, I could eat everything. Okay, Nico, the problem with your stomach is that you're eating vegetation. You're eating grains and vegetables and fruits. You're eating foods that are not meant for humans. You're eating unnatural foods for your body. These foods are killing your stomach. This fiber, this vegetation that you're eating is killing your stomach. Now, when you mix these aggressive foods, like all vegetables, carbohydrates, grains, when you mix these with meat, it can feel like you're eating rocks. They don't mix well together. What you need to do is get rid of all the carbohydrates from your diet and simply eat meat with fat and nothing else, and drink water. If you do that, your stomach problems will magically go away. You have stomach problems because you're eating food that is not natural for you, and it inflames your stomach and it cuts your stomach up. It's very, very simple. If you get rid of all those foods and eat nothing but meats, try this for 1 month. Eat nothing but meats and drink water, and your stomach problems will go away. Be sure to eat fatty meats. Be sure to eat fat. You cannot eat only protein. You must eat protein and fat, a good amount of fat. This is how you heal your stomach. Come back to me in a month and thank me. Kyle asks, earlier this year you wrote that all ejaculation is bad. However, you have since deleted that article, and on the last podcast you stated that you no longer believe this to be true. What changed your opinion? Well, number one, I never wrote that all ejaculation is bad. I wrote that masturbating is bad. There is a big problem with a lot of these people in the West. They don't understand what words mean. I said masturbating is bad. They say, well, all ejaculation is bad? Masturbating is bad. Well, all sex is bad? Masturbating is bad. Do you understand this? Masturbating is bad. Understand words. Masturbating is not sex, nor is it ejaculation. It is masturbating. Don't do it. It's bad for you. Regarding ejaculation, if you are with a female and you do it in the natural manner, it's good, isn't it? If you're doing it with yourself, it's bad, isn't it? That's that. Eric asks, hi, Victor. My question is how to deal with loneliness. Okay, Eric, there are 2 ways you can deal with loneliness, and the first way is to simply not be alone. If you're lonely and you want to stop being lonely, don't be alone anymore. Find somebody. The other way that you stop dealing with loneliness is that you be too busy to be lonely. So if you cannot find anybody to spend your time with, dive headfirst into your work. Work 18 hours a day. With all the gusto you can manage, put all your energy into working. Keep yourself busy. Always be busy. If you're always busy, you can't be lonely. The only time you can be lonely is when you're doing nothing but thinking. Thinking is the enemy of doing. And if you're not doing, all you can do is think. So stay busy. Get busier. Do your work. Build your work. Go to the gym. Go lift weights. Go take MMA classes. Go do this and go do that. Keep yourself busy at all times. Because if you ain't busy, you're going to start feeling lonely and anxious and sad and depressed. And all these bad feelings are going to come in just because you're not busy. The body has to be busy. The mind has to be busy. So keep yourself busy. Keeping busy is the cure for every psychological ailment. And if that doesn't work, then don't be alone anymore. Anthony asks, my question is, what are your thoughts on today's women in the West? Are they worth it? Well, Anthony, I'd love to tell you that, yeah, they're worth it if you just give them a chance and you're going to find the perfect one for you. But the reality is that, Anthony, no, they're not worth it. We can all see what's happening in the West. The values are inverted. We can see what happens when men get married and then they get divorced and ruined. They get everything taken from them. They get their children taken from them. You have no rights as a man. When you get married, you sign away all of your rights. The female has all of the rights. There is no benefit for you getting married. Even though marriage as an institution is good for people and is necessary for society and civilization, we live in a crazy world. We live in a crazy world where everything can be taken from you. You sign a business agreement to give everything to your lady. She can leave anytime she wants. She still gets everything from you and you get nothing from her. You have to understand the way that males and females work. Males want sex. Females want money and security. That's what they want. You can't get mad about this, but you must understand it. You must know that women don't love you the way that you think they do. They love you for what you can provide for them. They love you for what you can provide. And when you sign up to be a provider, a husband, you give them all of the control over you. You literally become the slave of your wife when you get married in the West. And you can see it happen to everybody who gets married. Maybe not in the first year, but it happens. They all become the slave of their wife because when you get married, you sign a contract giving all of your power away to them. You sign a contract saying, I do agree to not having any power anymore. You can have all the power over me, honey. For what? There is literally no benefit to getting married as a man. Literally no benefit. John asks, how to cure gyno, also known as bitch tits. Well, cure them. There are ways to minimize it by taking several different medicines. I'm going to link you to an article on this because I've never had gyno myself. I have had articles written by people who have had gyno, and I'll link you to that. So your answer is going to be one of two things. Take some proper supplements, stop eating carbohydrates, or get surgery. And that's it. This world we live in causes boys to grow tits. The upside down world we live in causes boys to grow tits. And frankly, it feels like the girls today have dicks. That's that. Viking asks, Victor, do you prefer getting your content out as a podcast or as a written post? Are you just looking to grow both markets, or do you see a change in the way people consume information? I see a big change in the way people consume information. Blogs are not near as popular as they used to be. Not anywhere near. So people are on social media, number one, these days. And they want their content in short snippets. In short snippets, they don't want to read anything. They don't want to have to do any work. They just want their content in short snippets on YouTube or as an audio post. So more people absolutely are doing video and doing audio than they are reading. Even though I don't like writing, I prefer writing. I'll always be a wordsmith at heart. I love creating a great piece of art in words, but I also do enjoy the podcast very much, and I'm simply doing it because A, I enjoy it, and B, because people have been asking me to bring back the podcast for about 2 years now. I always get asked, where did the FCG go? When are you going to do another podcast? So here it is, and I'm back for good. You can expect this podcast once a week from now on. Anon asks, do you think dating apps like Tinder are good for meeting women? Sure. But what kind of women? What kind of women? It also depends on what you look like. It's all picture-based. If you have great pictures, you're going to be meeting a lot of women. If you don't have great pictures, you're going to meet barely any women. So are you a good-looking guy, or do your pictures show you as a good-looking guy? Yeah, you're going to meet a lot of women. None of them are going to be quality, but you are going to meet them. If you are not a good-looking man, Tinder is a waste of your time. Ivan asks, what do you think about cryptocurrency investing or mining? If you do your research, if you've got your mind invested into it, if you've got your mind invested in learning everything about it, it's great. I know people who've been in Bitcoin and changed their life. They were struggling to make money, struggling for everything. And then they got into Bitcoin, and now they buy a house. They don't worry about money anymore. You know, they go get a steak for lunch instead of eating a sandwich. So cryptocurrency can change your life, but you must commit to learning everything about it before you jump in. Because if you just jump in and throw money at it, you're probably going to lose it. So you got to study it. You got to learn it like the back of your hand. Wolf asks, is it better to visit a gym or should I buy some weights for home training? I don't live in a city, thank God, so I have to drive around 20 minutes to get there. It's better to go to a gym rather than buy some weights for home training. Number one, a gym is going to have pretty much everything you need, and it's going to have energy of other people training. At your home, you're going to be stuck with whatever you can buy. And you might have a lot, you might have a little. And what you don't have is the energy of all the other people training around you. You don't have the ritual of driving to the gym and getting ready to train. If you just wake up and get down to your garage, there is no pre-gym ritual, and therefore your thirst for training can go down. It's better to go to a gym because you got that pre-gym ritual of changing your clothes and getting in the car and driving down there and preparing your mind to lift weights. And you've also got the energy of the gym. The other people training, they can give you more energy than you can have alone, and they'll have all the equipment that you need. You don't have to buy it. No Job, No Problem asks, a while back you said drinking 3 liters of water cured your acid reflux. Is it still the same on the carnivore diet? Actually, what cured my acid reflux was getting away from carbohydrates, especially grains like rice. Getting away from that stuff cured acid reflux. If I drink 3 liters of water or no water, does not matter. I don't get acid reflux ever. Period. All I eat is meat. I never get acid reflux. Never have a hurt stomach. Never get acid reflux. Never bloated. Never have any problems going to the bathroom. I feel fantastic every day. Also, do you think the U.S. will ever have a second civil war or a mass insurgency? No, I don't. Looking around at people? Nope. That will never happen. Dom asks, I'm looking for a good book for improvement or practical steps towards success. Any recommendations? Most books out there have low quality information density. You are correct. Most books out there are a waste of time. That's why I keep recommending you read the classics like Think and Grow Rich, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, Arnold, The Education of a Bodybuilder, The Millionaire Fastlane, The 4-Hour Workweek, The Art of the Deal. Classics are classics for a reason. I've got all of these linked at boldanddetermined.com. Just go to the page that says episode 3. You can find those links and check out those books. Omas asks, what's the best book on managing money, investing, and saving smartly? That book for you is called The Richest Man in Babylon. I have linked that also at boldanddetermined.com. That's going to be your best book about learning the strategy of money. Before you start investing, you've got to understand the basics. And The Richest Man in Babylon will instill in you the basics. Andrew asks, hi, Uncle Vic. I am 5 foot 5 inches tall. How much weight can I gain? Well, Andrew, the amount of weight you can gain is not really relevant. What's relevant is the way you look and feel. Because you might be lower weight, but look and feel awesome. Or you might be a higher weight and look and feel awesome. So whatever weight you are is completely irrelevant. It matters 0%. It only matters the way you look and the way you feel. George asks, in your post, It Pays to Be Big, you list the 10 best bodybuilding foods. I want to ask you about the carbs and bread. I don't eat any kind of carbs except for fruits, a handful of vegetables, and I've been eating multigrain bread to have a decent, healthy source of bulky carbs. I don't want to eat pasta, potatoes, rice, etc., so I've replaced these with multigrain bread. What is your opinion about this? I would take out the bread, I would take out the fruit, I would take out the vegetables, and just stick with meat, and you're going to feel a lot better. I've come full circle in this. When I first started Bold and Determined, this is the exact diet I was following. This is why I had so much power and so much energy when Bold and Determined started, because I was not poisoning my body with carbohydrates. I was eating steak and eggs every day. Now, somewhere along the way, I lost my way. I started eating rice. I started eating vegetables. I started eating fruits. And the more of these foods I ate, the less energy I had, the less vigor I had, the less fire I had, until I stopped eating them. And that fire came back. So stick with your meat, your eggs, your beef, drink water. That's it. He goes on to ask, what kind of entertainment do you enjoy to relax? Do you listen to music? I don't like to relax. I don't like to relax, and I'll tell you why. Relaxing is not relaxing. Relaxing is a way for man to try and run away from himself. That's what relaxing is. I hate relaxing. I like to work. The only thing that relaxes me is work, whether it's physical work in the gym or work on the business. I love to work and I hate to relax because relaxing is not relaxing. The only thing that makes you feel relaxed after a day is doing a lot of work. If you relax all day long, guess what happens at night? You become anxious. You become worrisome because you've done nothing all day. The only thing that works out nervous energy is work. So I don't enjoy relaxing. I just don't. I like to spend my days working. Whether it's working on a new business idea, working on a new blog post, working on a new podcast, working on things you don't see. And if I don't do that, then I'll go hiking. I'll go fishing. I'll go to the gym. I'll do something that keeps me busy. So relaxing, I don't like relaxing at all. You know what? I take that back. My favorite thing to do to relax is to sleep at night and then wake up again and then start working some more. Florio asks, how much sex should you have in a week? I am still a little bit confused about the sexual transmutation thing. Your article about masturbation, if you end up having no girl to sleep with, but you should not masturbate, you end up going celibate. I'm 19 and really need your help on this. I'm currently, especially after hearing your number 2 podcast, considering to get a hooker to sleep with. Well, if you want one, get one. Why do you need my permission? If a regular female, a girl that you don't have to outright give money to, is not available, and a hooker is, why do you need my permission? The reason you don't want to masturbate is that so you can build up your energy and direct it either towards your business or direct it to finding a female to put your seed in. That's why you don't masturbate. If you masturbate, you kill your confidence and you kill your fire. You kill your drive. You want to let that energy build so that you can transmute that energy towards business or transmute it to actually finding a lady to implant your seed in. Those are the two reasons you don't masturbate. So do one of those two, or do both of those two. Big Rig asks, can you address the Jewish question? Big Rig, I'll tell you this. If you want to know who your masters are, learn who you cannot criticize. Joseph asks, what are your views and experience on motorcycle riding? I love riding motorcycles. It's so much fun. When I live in Southeast Asia, that's all we did. You don't drive cars over there. There are way too many cars on the road. So you drive a motorbike. There's too many motorbikes on the road too, but it's really a lot of fun. I love driving a motorbike. I don't know if I'd like driving one in America because these people here, they don't know how to drive with motorbikes on the road, and they're always on their fucking phone. They're always on their phone. I'm constantly honking at people at lights because they're looking at their phone instead of looking at the green light. So depends on where you are. If there's a motorbike culture where the people know how to ride motorbikes, it's a lot of fun. If it's here, it's a lot of danger. Florio has another question. He says, I feel like if I eat rice, I have so much more energy to do stuff. I work from home and sit most of the day. I know you said eat only meat and no carbs is the best choice, but aren't carbs which get used also good? Not sure on this one, so I'll rather listen to your advice. Okay, Florio, if you want to know if rice really has energy, do nothing but eat rice for 2 days. Eat nothing but rice for 2 days and see how much energy you have. You will quickly learn that rice gives you no energy. In fact, it takes energy from you. And then I want you to go ahead and eat meat for 7 to 14 days. Fatty meat, eat nothing but fatty meat for 7 to 14 days and look at your energy levels. 7 to 14 days on meat only, you're going to realize that, wow, this is the highest energy diet that is available. And in fact, when I add carbohydrates to this, they don't give me energy. They make me tired. They make me feel weak. They make my bones hurt. So first of all, eat your rice for a couple of days. Eat nothing but rice and see how much energy rice actually gives you. You're going to be starving very, very quickly eating nothing but rice. On the other hand, eat nothing but meat, and you're going to realize what real energy actually is. Alex asks, will you stay in Southeast Asia for most of your life? And if so, what is your visa arrangement in Thailand? Well, will I stay in Southeast Asia for most of my life? God, no. God, no. No. I've not lived in Thailand since 2015. I've traveled there, but I've not lived there since 2015. No, I would not live in Southeast Asia for most of my life. The pollution is horrendous. The population is out of control. Dealing with Asian people is not fun. Dealing with customs there, especially in Thailand, is just becoming a nightmare. And they're not my people. So it's fun for a while. It's great to see different cultures. But sooner or later, you're going to realize they're not your people. No, I'm not going to live in Southeast Asia. I don't particularly know where I'm going to live. I don't plan these things too far in advance. I know I would like to live in a forest, part-time at least. Now, cities are great because there's a great energy in the city and they help you to do more work. But then you've got to get out to the forest as well. Be one with nature and to get back to your roots, because as Europeans, we're all forest people. That's where we belong. That's where we came from, is the forest. That's where we feel most at home. So I like to get out to the forest. I love big trees in the forest. I love cold air and fires in the forest. Right now, that's where I want to be. I simply go where I want to go when I want to go there. I'm starting to learn that we are a nomadic people. All people in the world are more nomadic than we are sedentary. I hate staying in the same spot for too long. I hate it. Staying in the exact same spot feels like dying. I love getting out and getting to new places, but I like going to the same places. I like traveling around to the same places, but I don't want to stay anywhere for too long. Before we had our civilization, before we had our subway systems and our trains and our highways, we were a nomadic people. We never stayed in the same spot. We followed the food and we followed the weather. So that's what I enjoy doing. The thought of signing another 1-year lease and staying 1 year anywhere, no thanks. No thanks. I've been traveling for 1.5 years. I enjoy that much more. I'm not tied down anywhere. I can leave and go anywhere I want when I want to go there. And that's that. I like the freedom of being a nomad. Alex goes on to ask, what do you think about cocoa leaf tea? And have you had any experience with cocoa leaf tea from Peru? He goes on to say, I've been using it for almost 3 years now and find it great as an energy booster, great for weight loss, great for my teeth, and it cures headaches and nausea. I know you're always on the lookout for natural supplements that boost your energy, mood, and concentration. and I personally think that cocoa tea does exceptionally well in these areas with no dangerous side effects, but it's hard to get outside of South America. Well, Alex, I've never had it. I've never been to South America. It sounds interesting. It sounds a little bit like cocaine. I don't know if it comes from the same leaf or what, but it sounds interesting. If I can get my hands on some, I'll give it a shot. If it's great and if it's legal in America, if all things work out, I'll be happy to bring it in and get it out to the listeners of the podcast. That is the end of this episode, friends. We talked about the absolute need to own your own website, because if you are a truth teller, or if you have an opinion that does not fit with the approved opinion, you can get banned from anywhere. So if you want to start your own business and make your own way, check out badnet.com and we'll get a website set up for you for free. You just pay for your hosting costs. You will get a free domain name. So for example, boldanddetermined.com is a domain name. Whatever you want your domain name to be, it will be free. You just pay your little hosting fees and we'll take care of the rest for you, friends. Have yourselves a great day. I'll see you next Thursday.